Hi, this is Jen Schaefer, and today I'm going to be making two cards featuring the Lawn Fawn Baaah Humbug stamp set. To start off, I am taking a piece of Neenah heavyweight cardstock in the craft color and cutting it down the middle on the 11-inch side, then scoring and folding each of these halves down the middle on the 8.5-inch side to create two A2 sized card bases. To design my cards, I knew that I wanted to feature these two adorable sheep from the stamp set. For my first card, I am going with a Christmas theme, so I am laying out several of the accessory pieces from the set. For the boy sheep, I want him to have this cute little Santa hat on his head. To make this work, I first need to create a mask using a post-it note. I stamped the Santa hat on the post-it, then fussy cut it out, focusing on the bottom portion of the hat, as the top half will not be covered by the sheep. Next, I used the sheep stamp as well as the mask to figure out exactly where I would like the Santa hat to go, marking the position with a pencil. Then I am able to stamp the Santa hat. Next, I can replace the mask and stamp the sheep. When I remove the mask, the Santa hat will be protected and it will look like the sheep is wearing the hat. By using this technique, it looks like one seamless image rather than two individual stamps. Next, I am going to use the grid on my cutting mat to line up where I would like the female sheep to go. Then I can stamp her accurately on the card. Because the lights are going over the sheep and there are no overlapping images, I do not have to worry about masking them for this. I know that I would like to use both sheep on my two cards, so I am going to stamp them both on the second card as well. I start with the female sheep because she is still on the acrylic block. Then I can stamp the male. Since I have a general idea of what this card should look like, I know that I do not have to worry about masking either sheep here as well. Back on the Christmas themed card, I can now stamp the string of lights. My original plan was to go from top left to bottom right, but I decided at the last second that I like the other orientation better. Next, I can begin work on adding some more elements to the cards. For this card, I love the saying that says, "All I want for Christmas is you," spelled E-W-E. I think the pun is absolutely adorable and matches the pair of sheep really well. I decided that since the sheep are fairly central in the card, I would put the first half of the saying above them and the second half below, keeping the stamped images central on the card. To fill in the space above their heads, I thought it would be cute to add some mistletoe, then decided a bow would be the perfect addition to top it off. There's still a lot of empty space available on the card. To fill this in, I decided to use the same string of lights I used on the female sheep as an accent to string across the top and bottom of the card. I again used my cutting mat to help me keep the string of lights fairly straight. Both the top and the bottom of the card are approximately 3 strings of light across, though I use a black fine-tip Sharpie marker later to get the little bit of string that does not cover. Alternatively, you could stamp your string of lights off the paper to get that last little bit. You may notice that my card is at a bit of an angle when stamping the top string of lights. This makes it a little more difficult to line up the strings, and as a result, my last string is at a bit of an angle. That completes the stamping I wanted to do on the Christmas themed card, so I moved on to my other card. I liked the pun on you in the first card so much, I decided to use it again. I used the phrase "I love" from Lawn Fawn's Meow You Doin stamp set, as well as the letters E, W, and E from Lawn Fawn's Riley's ABCs to spell out the phrase "I love you." Because I'm using individual letters for you, I was careful to line them up and stamp them on a post-it note first to make sure I was happy with the way they lined up. I ended up fixing the location of the lowercase e. I also wanted to stamp them on a post-it note as this is the first time I'm using the "I love" sentiment, and I wanted to be sure it would stamp well. Once I was happy with the placement of my stamps, I moved on to stamping them on my card below with a pair of sheep. I loved how this custom sentiment fits the card so well. Next, I'm taking the heart stamp from Lawn Fawn's party animal to add some hearts to my scene. I really wanted a large heart to fill in this space, and the one from the set was perfect. My idea was that there would be a cloud of love coming from these two sheep. Then I also added a border of hearts towards the bottom. You could instead do a heart border for both sides or put the sheep and sentiment towards the bottom with just a cloud of hearts above them. Both would be a cute look for this card. I really love how these large hearts filled in a lot of space, but I felt like there was still a lot of open areas that could be filled in. So I went back to Baaah Humbug and got out the small heart from the stamp set. This little heart helps fill in the empty spaces between the hearts and the cloud, as well as fills in some of the empty space between the heart border and the sentiment. I went in and kept adding small hearts until I was happy with the way the card looked. Next, I moved on to coloring the cards. Unfortunately, when I went to check the footage on my camera, one card was blurry and the other card wasn't even there. I plan on including coloring in most of my future videos, so I hope you don't mind it's missing here. I did some straightforward coloring with Prismacolor colored pencils using 2 to 3 shades per area. Because I used colored pencils, including a lot of white, My next step was to go over a lot of the stamp lines that had been covered up with a black fine tip Sharpie marker. I especially like to clean up any lines around the face, as it makes them really stand out. This is also a good time to go over any lines that did not completely stamp or fill in any missing areas, like where the string of lights should go off the cards. You could very easily leave the cards the way they are, but I wanted to add something extra that would make them really pop. That's when I decided to bring in my Signo Uniball white gel pen to add in some cute accents. For the hearts on the love card, I decided to give them a little bit of a highlight by putting a dot or small line in the upper right hand corner of each heart. This is a small change that makes a big visual impact. I considered doing the same on the Christmas card by adding a highlight to each of the lights, but decided that didn't stand out as much as I wanted it to. So instead, I decided to add snow. Something you'll want to keep in mind, as you soon see by my mistake, is that you want to be careful to keep your hand up as well as move from one side of the card to another, or you're going to risk smearing your pen ink. Another thing to be aware of is that you want to put white dots over your images as well, so it looks like snow as opposed to stars. Since you control where the dots go, you can be careful to avoid spots like the sentiment and features such as the eyes. As a final touch, I traced the area I colored as snow so that it would stand out and match the falling flakes. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope you enjoyed seeing these two cards come together. Be sure to check the description for further details, and I hope to see you again next time.